What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So if you paid attention to the community post that I did recently, I gave you guys a little sneak peek at what the next thing we're going to be doing to the Rebel 500 here is. So without further ado, let's go ahead and open this up. And there she is with all her glory. So as you can see, we're going to be changing out the headlight to this LED projector style headlight on the Rebel 500. All right, so I'm going to show you how to install this, but first let's go ahead and take a look at our headlight to see what it looks like in its current state. All right, so this is what our headlight currently looks like. This is just the standard halogen reflector style housing that we have here that comes on the 2017 to 2019 models. The 2020 and up models were updated to LED lighting that's kind of similar to what we're going to do here. It just comes like that from the factory. Now, my headlight, ever since I have bought it, has an LED bulb in there. There's like a H4 LED bulb. So I'm going to turn it on so you guys can kind of see what it looks like. It's pretty bright, but it doesn't quite give you the nice beam pattern cutoff like a LED projector would. And I'm sure that this one's actually going to be a whole lot brighter because it's multiple LEDs versus just the one. All right, so this is what the headlight looks like right now. I mean, it's camera footage, you know, what can you really say about it? This is what it looks like. That's the low beam. And if I flick on the high beam, you can see not much change, but a little bit of change. And just kind of looking at what it's reflecting off of right now, I know it's not nighttime, but this is what it looks like right now. When I do the new one, I'm going to show you guys what it looks like outside in the dark. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. First, we need to take off a few things with this housing. We're going to take off the dust shroud, and then after that, we're going to take off the housing that's actually holding the entire assembly up. And then I'm going to show you some materials you're going to need in order to get this done as well. So just as a heads up, you are going to need some self-drilling or self-tapping screws in order to make this work. You'll see that here in the video. I went ahead and I picked up two different sizes. I've got some number 10s that are about a ½ inch long, and then I've got some number 12s that are 3/4 inch long. I wasn't quite sure which ones I was going to need, so I went ahead and I just bought two different sizes, and we'll figure it out once we get there. So one of the first things you're going to need to do is remove the screws that are down here at the bottom of the dust shroud. Ignore this ring and ignore the fact that mine are silver. I have to use a different set of screws, and then this ring holds on my windscreen and my quarter fairing at the front. So ignore that, but go ahead. There's one on this side and there's one on the other side. Remove those and we'll get the dust shroud off as our step one. All right, so now that you've got the two screws for the dust shroud off, it's pretty easy. It'll just slide backwards like so, and then you can kind of bend it and just pull it out like this. Nice and easy, nothing really holding it in except these tabs and those two screws. So just push it backwards, fold it out, and pull it off. All right, so now that our dust shroud's out of the way, we need to remove 3 screws from the bracket here. We're gonna remove this one right here. We're gonna remove one on the opposite side right here. And then there's one which is really hard to show you guys, but it's right here in the middle underneath. Go ahead and remove those 3 screws. And then we're going to remove these large Allen screws from in here at the base of the bracket. All right, so I'm just working on freeing up this last bolt right here. Just be careful because once this bolt is free, this whole assembly is going to come off. So don't let this fall. Okay, so there we go. This is free and it's not going to fall anywhere like this. I'll just let it sit and I'm going to show you guys where to unplug the headlight bulb. All right, so if we look right here, and I know it's pretty dark, but your stock bulb is just going to simply unplug from this clip right here. Mine has an aftermarket LED in it already, so it looks a little odd, but you're just going to separate these two pieces. This is what your plug will look like coming from the bulb itself, and then this is your harness coming from the actual bike. Went ahead and unplugged our LED bulb so that it is free. The last thing that's really kind of holding this housing from separating here is just the wire looms right here. So you can pull these out if you'd wanted to, and this whole bracket will come off. Now, before I go any further, I want to go ahead and plug this in to the bike and just verify that it works. All right, so there we go. It's all plugged in. Moment of truth. Oh yeah, there we go. Let's test the high beams. There they are. All right, so we're good to go. All right, sorry about the static there in the beginning, guys. I'm not sure what was going on with my microphone. I went ahead and I'm switching to the onboard microphone of the GoPro, so hopefully the audio is still of pretty good quality. But now that we have our bracket that holds our actual headlight separated from this housing right here that just holds the headlight in place on the motorcycle, we can move on to our next step, which is going to be removing this screw here, and then there's one on the opposite side. And then the last thing we need to do to completely free up the old headlight is remove these 2 spring screws, which are for adjustments. Now, none of these are going to be reused, so don't worry about it. Just take them off completely. and then we'll be ready to mount our new headlight in this bracket. All right, so now that we've taken out both of the spring bolts and then these two screws that were on the side, by the way, these ones are a pain, and make sure you're using the right size screwdriver. All right, so now that we've done that, the bracket will be free from the halogen headlight housing here. We do not need this inner bracket. All right, so something to take note of really quick. Just remember that on this headlight in particular, these two lights are on the side, and then there's one right here at the top. That is our low beam, and this is going to be like sitting upright like this when you're looking at it on the bike. The DOT stamp on this particular headlight should be at the top. Now, how do we align this properly? Well, on the back of it, you have these cooling fins, and these cooling fins are sitting directly in line with up and down of the headlight. Now on our headlight bracket here, now if you remember when you disassembled this, you took a very small screw out of the bottom of this bracket right here, and it actually connected right here. So we know that this is center line on the bottom of the headlight. So if I take my headlight here, and when I go to put it together, if I put the bottom of the headlight, which is this side right here, and I feed this through and I keep this hole in line with these fins, then our headlight should be standing straight up and down as it should while it's in this bracket. All right, so I have the headlight in the headlight bracket here, and it's flush down where I need it to be, and you'll know that you've done that because if you look at this little tab right here where one of our spring screws used to sit, I had a little bit of a tough time getting it past this lip, but once you're past this lip and it's all the way down, everything will sit in there really nice and flush and bottomed where it needs to be. And just go ahead, take a look at that bottom bracket hole like I was talking about where that screw once lived, and just make sure you're happy with the alignment between the cooling fins, which lets you know that your headlight is sitting the proper direction of vertical. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take this rod and I'm gonna stick it through here and just kind of see, like, is it exactly straight or is it not? And I can see that it's not quite exactly straight, so I can play with this and get my rod to where it slips in and out really nice and easily, and then I know it's perfectly centered. But if you look at the front here, you can see that that large bulb and these two are on the sides, and our high beam pieces are right here. So this is how it's gonna sit in the bike. All right, so I'm pretty happy with how straight everything is in here. At this point, we just need to secure this in place permanently. So what we need to do now is use our self-drilling or our self-tapping screws, and we need to secure it with this little hole right here, which we took one of our screws out of, and then a hole on the opposite side. Those are the only two screws that you're gonna use on this bracket directly into this headlight. To avoid getting any kind of interference with this plug right here, I'm not sure what the electronics look like in here, I'm going to use the shallower depth, which is going to be a 1/2 inch number 10 screw here. This should work pretty perfectly for this scenario. So let me go ahead and drill these in, and then we'll be ready to mount this back on our motorcycle. Now I'm using my 1/4 inch impact here, and I've got this little magnetic tip, and I bought these ones that are hex headed, so it fits perfectly right in here, and it's magnetic, so it's gonna hold it in place for me while I get this drilled in. All right, so that's one right there. I'm just gonna verify that this is nice and straight still before I put the second one in. All right, so that is both sides in. We're good to go ahead and put this back in our bike. It's basically the reverse order, so let's get to it. All right, so first thing we need to do is go ahead and remove our plastic film. I was just leaving that on just to protect the headlight in the meantime. And now we need to go ahead and just slide this back into this bracket here. Now it may be hard to do with the little clips that are right here, so go ahead and take those out and then just slide her in. Now you're gonna need to lift the housing into its place, and then we're gonna put these 3 tiny screws back in on the bottom and both sides here. All right, so I've got the 3 screws back in place right here and the one on the bottom. So now all we need to do is mount this up to the motorcycle using those large Allen bolts at the bottom that we took out, and then we just need to plug in our electrical connector, put our wire loom clips back into place, put our dust shroud back together, and then we'll be all complete. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this in reverse order, and then I'll show you guys what the end result looks like. All right guys, so there she is, all said and done. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Let me know if the write-up, the how-to is good. Leave a like on the video. Leaving a like on the video would be the biggest way that you guys can show your appreciation for this how-to install. I'd really appreciate it, guys. Let's go ahead and just turn it on. There she is. So there is our low beam, nice and bright. And here is our high beam. So everything turned out perfectly. I'm gonna wait for it to get a little bit darker outside, and I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like up against my fence line. All right, so let's go ahead and see what it looks like up against the wall here in front of me. There's our low beam. And keep in mind that my motorcycle's on a little bit of a decline right now, so my driveway goes down. But there it is, there's the low beam. Notice the nice clean cutoff with the light, unlike the halogen. I'll go ahead and turn the high beam on. There's our high beam. Low, high, there it is. Just do another little look with the camera right here. Alright, so that's going to do it for today's video, guys. If you like the content, leave a like I said. Subscribe if you haven't already for more content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.